everyone, I'm Kavita and welcome you back to Women in Marketing presented by CMO First. Here we sit down with inspiring women marketers, not just to talk shop, but to celebrate their journeys and their thinking and the spark that they bring to this ever-evolving world of marketing. If you joined us for our first episode, thank you for being a part of this series. And if this is your first time tuning in, you've picked a great moment. I am so excited because today we're rolling out episode 2 and we have a fabulous guest today. I'm thrilled to have with us Rachel Roundy. Rachel brings an incredible blend of global experience and grassroots level marketing insights. She has led global demand generation and revenue marketing at Intel and has previously worked across a variety of industries, from tech to recruitment and from food to fashion, which means that she's also been exposed not just to the B2B world, but also the B2C world. This makes her perspective especially rich, and a conversation like this is, I feel like, much needed, especially because she's bringing in so many different levels of marketing into the conversation. So grab your coffee and settle down and let's just dive into this. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Yay, thank you so much for having me. I thank you for that wonderful intro too. It makes me sound so much more interesting.
Oh, you are very interesting, and I can't wait to get into the conversations. I wanted to obviously start with something that was a little bit more personal, so we can get the ball rolling with a more like personal conversation, just to figure out and find out more about you and your journey into marketing. So I'd love to hear about the start with like, how did you get into the world of marketing? Was it something that you planned? Or was it just something that you kind of found along the way when you were kind of figuring out your career path?
I love that question. I've been thinking about this a lot, kind of like, what is the origin story, right? And I love asking other people that as well. For me, it was not something I planned. I studied international relations, so nothing to do with marketing, although there was a strong business focus. But, I ended up taking a job. I had worked in an IT help desk. I was in the tech world, took a job at an organic farm randomly. And this was the largest organic farm in Colorado, and we had a massive community supported agriculture program. And there was an opportunity to run some events for them. It was essentially field marketing before I even knew what that term was. And I jumped at the opportunity and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. What is this? So it was a lot of like doing events, working with channel partners, a lot of channel marketing, bringing in different vendors and things like that, and scaling this CSA program to like 5,000 members across the state of Colorado. We also worked with a lot of like local businesses to get them to purchase our organic. It was sales and marketing really combo, but that was my origin story. I realized like, wow, this is great. I love whatever this is. More please. So ended up working with a lot of different local food companies and breweries, then pivoted to fashion and then came over to the tech world. So it's been a wild ride.
Wow, that is wild, definitely. I mean, we love a great backstory, especially one that doesn't start with the original source that you're in right now. So, it just shows the various experiences that you're bringing to the table as well. And even when I saw that you had worked in food and fashion, I was like, I wonder how that happened. How did she go from food fashion to tech? Tech
I
giant Intel,
know.
because that is quite a big difference, right? So
Yes.
I was
I've made
really,
a lot of hard pivots for sure.
yeah, hard pivots, but also like I'm sure that it's made you who you are today as a world-class marketer, and working on global demand generation activities, bringing all of that knowledge and experience from such a varied background must make all the difference, right?
I
So
think so. I think there's a lot that B2B can learn from B2C. We do a lot, like B2C does a lot of fun stuff. And I think like at the end of the day, we are marketing to other humans. We have a tendency of getting really stuffy and like putting on our like professional content hats, right? In the B2B world, when really like we still need to find that humanity and the shared connections between us. And that's where B2C really can teach us a lot.
I love that answer because I strongly believe that is so true with B2B. You can get very content, crazy, and you do forget the human touch, that you are still speaking to humans, not just C-suites, because a lot of people are like, oh, we've got C-suite content, and it will resonate with the higher ups. but the higher ups are still humans, right? So how do
Absolutely.
we connect those two dots? And I think that's profound, because B2C is a bit more fun. You're right. Even the ads that you see right now for us as consumers, I feel like they're really like putting a lot of fun and inspiring things in there that make you think, oh, okay, I want to eat that, or I want to buy this, or I want to wear that. So yeah, how do you blend that into the fun element into B2B, where you are very conscious of these big titles that you're kind of trying to target and get their
Yeah.
attention? So yeah, no, I love that answer. It's a brilliant answer. So you've obviously worked across multiple industries. How has that shaped your view in terms of what good marketing actually looks like?
It's a great question. I think it's related to what we were just talking about is like, how do you, at the end of the day, whatever you're marketing, even if it is something very serious and very technical, finding that human element, right? Maybe it's not always fun, but it is exactly what they need to hear, or it's how they're going to solve their problem, right? I think that is the difference between marketing that is talking about what the story you want to tell versus the story that your customers need to hear, right? Really flipping that to say, how are we call ourselves customer obsessed. Everyone likes to say that. Everyone likes to think that we're using data, but actually using it to create narratives and connect pain points, help people solve problems, help them be the hero of their organization. That's really, I think, what sets good marketing apart. And I see a lot of teams get kind of stalled in the execution of that, right? So it's like the idea of it, yes, but then how do we bring that to life? And does it get killed off in 100 review rounds, right? So the companies that are really embracing that true customer first mindset and problem solving mindset, I think are doing it best across any industry, or whether it's B2C or B2B.
Yeah, I think even just what you just said, become the hero of your organization, is probably a great headline for a content piece.
Yeah.
So we might have to use that one next.
Yes.
That's a great way
We
to
we had
hook
a whole
them.
campaign. We had a whole
Become
campaign
the
about making IT the heroes of their organization, and it was so fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. The people that people forget about in the organization, let's make them the heroes, right? Let's make them feel like the heroes that they actually are, to be honest, because without them, a lot of things wouldn't happen. So talking about IT and tech, that kind of goes into my next question, which is the tech stack question. And I really wanted to ask you this because you're very vocal on LinkedIn about technology and AI and everything else, and I love your approach to how you're embracing all this technology. I want to know, in your opinion, how does a marketer like yourself go into an organization and make sense of the tech stack? And what does good tech stack look like for you? Because where you've got internal marketing teams working in silos, and then you've got external vendors working in silos too, and then you might have a media agency also doing the same thing, how can you bring all of those campaigns into your organization and build one ecosystem where all the tech stack kind of speaks to each other? Can you just give me your insights on that, Rachel? Because I'm really excited to hear what you've got to say about this, because this is a problem that a lot of my clients have faced, where their CRM, their marketing automation platform, and maybe their intent platforms that they've got are not really connected to each other, so they can't really translate those billions of dollars or millions of dollars that they spend in marketing budget into real tangible results, because they just don't know what that looks like or what good even looks like anymore, because everyone's saying that, maybe external vendors are saying this was a great campaign, it was really successful, but what does success actually look like? And how does a company like Intel, say, yeah, this was a successful campaign, and this is the tech stack that's told us this was a successful campaign because of XYZ? I'm going to let you go with this one. Just go
This
for
is such
it.
a big, meaty question, and I love it so much. I think it is, to your point, something that every single company struggles with, right? Like nobody has really had like the perfect solution to this. But in my most recent role, I was leading this thing that we called the Demand Gen Tiger Team, right? So we were a Tiger team, cross-functional folks across sales, marketing, ops, the field teams, to really like build the pipes for demand gen marketing, and that included the tech stack and the data layers. And the reason I bring that up is that we had this like unique opportunity to build our field of dreams of like what we would want out of our tech stack. And through that, had so much fun kind of digging into what is already in there. And to your point, I think a lot of organizations, and I feel like there are a lot of other smart people that talk about this, but there's a lot of organizations that buy bits and bobs, right? Like they'll buy this because it's going to give them intent data. They'll buy this because it's going to help them with their paid advertising. They'll buy this because they need a map, right? But they don't actually connect all of the data as they're building. And what you end up with, especially at large organizations like at Intel, is a lot of stuff that's kind of just collecting dust on shelves, right? Somebody bought it, some stakeholder bought it, hasn't actually been leveraged. It's just kind of sitting around. Maybe there was one champion and then they left their role. So I think like the first thing I'd recommend is really just to be really simple with what you need, really approaching the tech stack with, okay, if we're looking at our holistic buyer's journey and our seller's journey, right? Overlay the two of those. So where are customers at in their journey? How is marketing playing in that journey? And then where do sales come in? Where are the intersections? Honestly, just putting that on a piece of paper, you can circle the overlaps and say, okay, well, this is where we need things to talk to each other, right? That's step one. And then after that, what do you have in your tech stack that supports that? What outcome are you trying to get at each one of those stages? And do you already have something that solves for that? Awesome. If you don't, then, you can evaluate what you need to pull in. But a lot of times I think that people do often already have it, right? They've already purchased an amalgamation of different things. They just really need to connect the dots. And I think the connecting the dots is where a lot falls apart. I know for us at Intel, that was siloed everything, right? We were manually transferring things over in Excel files and things like that, which I think is relatable to a lot of companies, right? We have this incredible technology, but then it falls apart with the process or the integrations. So yeah, I think like really streamlining what do you actually need, getting really crisp about that. And then I see a lot of marketing tech vendors being more open to those integrations now, right? It used to be you have to log into this dashboard to do this one specific thing and this dashboard to do this one specific thing. But that's not really working for marketing teams or sales teams, to be honest. No one wants to log into 5 different places to cobble together a data story, right? So where can you get that data integrated into what you're building as a holistic end-to-end view? And that's easier said than done, but I think it's such an exciting space. And I do see a lot of vendors and teams moving in that direction where it's a little bit decoupled, but more connected, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in this industry for almost 20 years now. And when I first started, it was very much Excel sheets and uploads, manual uploads. And I've seen it gradually move towards more API feeds, more connectivity, more like, less siloed operations, less siloed technology, and more integration. Like everyone's talking about how do we integrate and how do we get that one holistic view where everything can kind of speak to each other. Because again, it's important, isn't it? Because we don't know if campaign A is going well and campaign B is doing well if, we're not able to see those visuals. And how do you then do a good, successful nurture track if you don't have the data to show, what's been going on before that? So I think that's a valuable piece. And I love your answer. It's definitely something that a lot of my clients would love to hear as well, especially in the bigger tech companies, because they have got tech stack that's still sitting there just gathering dust and don't know what to do with it, right? It's there, it's valuable, but they're still doing the manual stuff because it's like almost like, okay, we don't know how this fully works, so we're not going to touch it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've heard Mike Rizzo has a great name for this. He calls it a GTM engineer, but really that role that I think is evolving of the person who connects those dots, right? Like end to end, like who's connecting all the systems. And I also find, and I don't know if this is true in your experience too, but a lot of like traditional marketers don't want to think about the tech stack, right? Like it's the last thing on their mind. I was telling a friend the other day, like how nerdy I get about it. And she was like, oh gosh, that just makes my eyes cross, which I understand. But also we kind of have to, as marketers, traditional campaign or demand gen marketers, understand the tech stack because we can build this like big, beautiful campaign that is going to be like the things of our dreams. But if we can't actually execute on it because we've got broken data connections or silos in our stack, then it's never going to come to life, right? So I think it's a really interesting space where we'll see a lot of campaign and demand marketers have to, whether they want to or not, get more into the tech stack, especially as we think about AI and where that fits in. And then also this like evolution of a role where people are, it's like more than ops. It's really like spanning that strategy piece and the building piece to have that end-to-end view.
Yeah, absolutely. And with AI agents now becoming quite a big deal, I think that's going to also become a big fundamental part of integration as well, because there's no way around that, right? You have to kind of do it now. As you said, even the people that don't want to do it are probably going to be forced to do it now at this point, and have to do it cross-eyed.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. But it's kind of exciting. Like I would challenge folks to lean into like the excitement in that space. Like it's unfamiliar, but like think of somebody called it a magic tool the other day in one of my LinkedIn DMs. I'm like, it kind of is. Like obviously there's a lot of drawbacks and there's things that we have to like be reasonable with our expectations with AI, but what could you do to apply this to your existing strategies or programs that are going to make you a superhero at your job, right? We're back to the making you the hero of your organization. This is
I
in your
love
toolkit.
I love that. Yeah, because that is so true. Like now things are becoming a lot more accessible, right? Faster. Everything is coming to us a lot more faster. So how can we embrace that rather than feel like, oh God, especially if you've been marketing for quite some decades, right? The evolution of it has become more and more like, as you can see, people are having to upskill every time something new comes out, right?
Yeah.
The
Which is
buzzwords,
exhausting, and I
ABM.
hear that for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. Yeah. I think some people may find it overwhelming. So it's good to hear that from you, that those words of encouragement. I think it will help a lot of people out there who maybe, are resisting that tech like takeover almost. And the resistance comes from us feeling uncomfortable, right? We're uncomfortable because it's new, it's different. I've been doing it this way for so long. Why do I need to do it like that? How is it going to change? I'm doing well anyway. So, but it's not about just doing well. It's about how can we do better, right? And how can we do it faster? So I think that's where people will start seeing that kind of like, a mass embracement of it, I think.
Absolutely. And I would challenge folks to think of it as something that is enhancing your job, not something that's going to replace you. Because let's be real, it can't, right? Like, I know this isn't an original take, but like the OpenAI content strategist thing that's been blowing up on LinkedIn, they need a content strategist for a reason, right? Like, you still need a human to drive the strategy. AI can do a lot of wonderful things, and it's a force multiplier of a good strategy. So I think there's still a lot of fear that if I lean into this too much, then maybe it's going to replace my job. It won't, right? You still need the human strategy. You still need your brain in the room. AI can just be like an accelerant, really. So I challenge folks to try to shake off that fear a little bit, to play around with it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm sure a lot of the people that are out there that are listening to this will appreciate those words of encouragement as well, coming from somebody who has embraced it and is very much, a champion for it. You know what I mean? So the next question I've got is sometimes obviously campaigns take us by surprise, in both good and not so good ways. Was there ever one that didn't actually work out the way you had hoped, and why?
That is such a good question. Yeah, I can think yeah, anytime, and I'm a big fan of testing things and failing fast, right? I think it's really important. I think we all get a little too afraid of that, but how else are we going to learn? But yeah, I can think of a few specific examples, and I won't name the actual campaigns, right? But where we went with not what the customer wanted or what we were getting from our audience insights, but with what some executive wanted us to say, and that those ones have always fallen flat. I was talking to my best friend about this yesterday. She's a big AI and marketing nerd too. And it's really like, one thing about AI and marketing with this persona example of creating like personas that are agents that are based on your personas, you can use that to say, hey, executive, this is actually what we think is going to resonate with the audience, and here's some more feedback from the back pocket, rather than just arguing with them based on your gut feeling. But yeah, I think every time that we've gone out with brand soup, anything that is trying to brag about how great we are and not talking to customer pain points, it just has gone nowhere. I would say the other thing that I've seen, and I think this is probably relatable to a lot of folks, is when things happen in a vacuum, right? I've seen a lot of really great partner marketing efforts that happen over here, and then it's never connected to anything else, and then it just kind of fizzles out and dies. And so the partner, that we're doing marketing with doesn't have any data that they're happy with. We don't have any ROI. So I would say, like, yeah, those two specific examples, just talking about yourself and your product not being customer first, and then doing things completely separate from any other kind of integrated strategy where it just kind of fizzles out and dies. Those ones have been not successful.
Oh my God, that's actually so similar to a lot of other people that have had those experiences. You're so right, absolutely. Customer first. Sometimes marketing can be quite tone deaf, isn't it? And especially if you're just going in with only your brand, and no pain points being identified. I think that's where it just doesn't seem to land. I've had instances where I've had to talk clients out of, basically sending content out there that I thought would be not received well by their personas. But they've been adamant they want to do it. So, you can't really tell them like what to do at that point because it's coming from even higher above them, right? So it might be coming from their headquarters or the demand team that's sitting in another country might be. So they're like, nope, this is what we're doing. We're going to go with it. And then when it doesn't work, it's like, oh, okay. Shall we go with the other? Shall we go with the recommended content now?
Oh, oof,
Yes.
I think that's one thing that's like so important, especially in the example you brought up where you've got folks executing at the edge. HQ marketers, you have to give some trust to your field marketing teams. Like there has to be a balance where they get to personalize and make it real for their markets because it's just not going to work. We can't just force our one perspective on all of the markets of the world, right? Like,
Oh my God, I have to give you a round of applause for that one because working in international fields, this is the one thing that I've seen happen a lot where, US headquarters says this is how EMEA should sell, this is how APAC should sell. And these markets are so different. The buyers are so different,
so
like
different.
so
Yeah.
different. So,
Yeah.
even though they mean well, because it's worked for the US market, so we should roll it out globally because it's going to work for everybody else. As you said, they need to have a bit more trust in their field marketers because they are the ones who are in those
Absolutely.
countries. They understand their buyers better. They understand the culture better in those countries as well. And it is
Yep.
sometimes buyers, obviously you have to kind of like understand that culturally they buy differently too. So, that needs to be
Absolutely.
taken into consideration as well. But yeah, no, I love that. So what is the one marketing channel that you've always counted on? One that has never let you down?
Ooh, that is so hard. I think this is like probably the least exciting answer, but email. I honestly, email marketing has been super consistent across all of the roles that I've been at. And I think there's something to the personal one-on-one nature of getting an email in your inbox. It's not a feed that you're scrolling through. It's not an ad that you're ignoring. And if you do it right, you can really build trust and build rapport. I've had campaigns in the past that had like 100% open and click-through rates for very small, specific audiences, but because we knew who we were talking to and we built that rapport and they were ready to go on a journey with us, right? So I think email can be it's kind of underrated, it doesn't seem as exciting, but there's real magic that can happen in your inbox. Of course, there's all the challenges of getting to the primary tab or, deliverability and all of that.
Yes.
But yeah, I do love social though. I'll always love social. Like that's always been one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, email goes back to the traditional marketing, campaigns, doesn't it? Because I'd say social is like fairly new, right? Even though it's been around for quite some time, social's expanded significantly, right? I think the first time I ever came across social was Facebook, if I'm right. Yeah, and I remember going, "Oh my God, are we actually going to do that?" This was like early on in my lead gen journey, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, "Are we what? We're going to do Facebook ads? How? What is this?" And then, obviously that developed, and then it went into proper social media, like when we started to do Instagram and TikTok and all this stuff. And I'm like, "Wow, okay, this is really taken on a whole new level of like we're doing social marketing." But yeah, social is fun though. Social is fun, and it's a great way to interact.
Well, it's also, yes, you can build so much community advocacy. It's one of the best channels for showing up as a customer first brand, right? Like really being a little bit less formal and a little bit more like interactive with your audience. So, yeah, I do love
Yeah.
social. But yeah,
Even
I've
LinkedIn,
seen,
right?
in
I
terms
forgot LinkedIn in that. Like that's a big part of the social strategy, actually. That's the biggest part, actually. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying like kind of the shift to with the LinkedIn algorithm and with just where we're at with marketing right now to like the advocacy and subject matter experts posting content rather than brands. I think it's a whole new adventure for social marketing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, email has, in terms of what has added the most to my revenue, when I'm looking back at KPIs, email. It really does some, especially if you've got a really solid modular nurture that is able to be personalized and get people where they need to go, it can be really magical.
I love that answer. And guys, if you're listening to this, email, remember that. This is the most stable and the one that you can count on always. It never fails. So if you're down to your last 10K, don't spend it anywhere else.
Well,
Email.
now that you're saying that, I will, because I did that challenge, I think that you all had put out there about the last 5K. And I didn't choose email, but email is a part of that, right? I think having those in person, really hyper focused events, but then following it up with that personalized outreach and email, right? Like it's a 1-2 combo. I think small personal events are super exciting. I think there's a lot of magic happening there, and I think a lot more companies will be investing in that as we navigate this post-COVID world where people are really hungry for that connection and like really knowing the human on the other side, especially with so much stuff being created by AI. Like I'm a big fan, but there's also folks that are just churning out a lot of, AI stuff that isn't relatable. At the end of the day, you still want to talk to another human, you still want to buy from another human. So having those really small events and then following it up with all the tech stack goodness that we're talking about can be really powerful.
Yeah, I really hope that we can hold on to that one-to-one sort of like human touch element to, the way we work, right? So, because I always wonder if AI is just going to become this beast and, it's just going to like take away that human touch and the human element of, and I do agree with you. I think that I have also since post-COVID, seen a lot more roundtable events that are focused on a small group of people coming together that have common interests, common pain points. And I think for a technology company, it's a really good way to kind of like really connect with those big buyers, right? Like the guys that are, the decision makers in any organization. Again, not the easiest thing to execute and very expensive as well. So the ROI is always a big question mark, right?
I think it depends. So, like, but this was pre-COVID, but I worked for this small company called Compunal Digital, and we did these events called Design Sprints and Drinks. We were IT consulting. We did a lot of kind of like white label software solutions and applications. And we would use Google Design Sprints to kind of help people ideate on what their product needed to be and then build it for them. So I would pick a handful of executives in a target city, invite them to a brewery. We would do a mini design sprint. We would, show them the methodology. We would have networking and, drinks. And then afterwards, we closed so much in business. And I would spend $3,000 on each of those, right? It was really just the brewery space, the, drinks and appetizers and some books to hand out as, some of Jake Knapp's book to hand out as like a take home. They were incredibly effective. So I don't know. I think I would challenge folks to be scrappier. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing. It can just be something as simple as grabbing some space at a brewery and talking to your customers face to face.
I mean, yes, definitely. I think that's a great idea because the more they drink, they're probably going to be more likely ready to buy.
That helps. That helps for
That
sure.
helps, right? That helps. Just have your contract ready, after the third drink.
Yeah. But it's
But
also
again, a
there's a
very
value
positive.
exchange too, where they're learning. They're learning what is a design sprint? How could I do this for my company? Even if they don't come to us to facilitate one, it's still worth their time.
Absolutely. And it's a great idea. You're right. It can be cost effective if you find the right venue that's fun, but also not stuffy and kind of like, somewhere where people can get together and have a good day and an experience. Because being at a brewery is an experience. It's like going wine tasting, isn't it? Like you can see how they make the beer and how they make it, how they ferment it and things like that. And I think in that process, you kind of like feel like you're giving them an experience rather than just coming into a room and having a round table session. I agree. agree. It has to have that element of this is not work almost like, it's not hard work as well. So make it easy for them to feel like, they want to attend. I bet your attendance rate was really high on those.
Super high, super high. Yeah, like we would get to a max level where we'd be like, okay, we're capped out on Seattle, but we'll be back. This all fell apart with COVID, but it was such a fun program while we ran it, and again, millions and millions in revenue just from $3,000 a pop gatherings. So
I think that's a great idea, and I think a lot of people who are looking at events right now, which is quite a lot, like event spend is becoming higher and higher as I'm even when I'm looking at it, especially in certain regions. I know that in APAC it's very much like they love being face to face. They're still in that sort of we want to be in front of another human, that sort of buying experience. Whereas in EMEA, it's a little bit less, and I know in the US, it is still very much, let's go out and let's do this, let's do some more events. So, every region's got their own way of doing things, but I've seen a massive uptake in APAC, definitely, where we're just getting a lot of people coming to us about, roundtable events or any kind of webinars are starting to die down a little bit, actually. Like more people are doing the in-person face-to-face events and trying to get registrations for that. So yeah, it's a good piece of advice for all our listeners who are currently thinking of what's our next event going to look like. You heard it from Rachel, brewery guys. It's a win-win.
I think it's a lot of fun. There's usually a lot of options too for non-alcoholic and all the things. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. So that was brilliant. I loved our session of questions. We are going to now go into a bit more fun, Rachel. We're going to do the rapid fire round. And I'm actually really, really excited to see, what your answers are going to be. This is just a rapid fire segment. So no overthinking, just your instinct. As soon as I say the word or phrase, you just have to say the first thing that comes into your head and your mind.
okay, like
Are you
one word
ready?
answer,
Yeah, we could do two if you need
short.
to, but
Okay,
try and keep
okay,
it
okay,
one, yeah, if we can, yes.
okay.
So let's go then. The first one for you is marketing in 2025.
I think scaling AI, but not in the way that you would think, right? Like, how do you make it work for you rather than just like adding a bunch of AI to stuff?
Right, scaling AI. That's the answer for marketing in 2025. Automation?
Oh, I mean, I think about automation of, all the tech stack and the things that we were talking about earlier of making sure things are connected so that you
Yeah,
don't have to think about it or double check it. It's just already in place.
yeah. 50 slider deck.
Oof, just say no.
Yes, yeah,
Too
I
many
agree with you on
slides.
that. I actually agree with you on that. Oh, this is a good one. You spoke about this quite a bit in our conversation. Email marketing.
Ooh, love it. Yes,
Love
still
it.
a strong channel. Yep.
Yep. Website cookies.
Necessary, but changing with GDPR.
Yeah, that's so true. But we just don't know when, right? It's changing, but it's like this cookie apocalypse that's never going to happen.
Exactly, just always hanging over. But
Just
it's
just
making us
hanging over
all,
the head.
I think it's making everyone better marketers because you have to think more about consent and how you're going to build your programs to be more upfront with data sharing, regardless, right? So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think already marketers are gearing up for, the cookie apocalypse, if that makes sense. So their strategies are already kind of baking that into the process. So if it does happen, it's not like everything's lights off overnight, right? Things can keep moving forward with or without it there. And I've seen a lot of people pivot away from like, trying to do a panic run. GDPR was an interesting one when it came in. A lot of companies did panic. But yeah, some companies were like, yeah, we've already kind of got ourselves GDPR ready. We're here for it.
Yes,
So yeah, it
exactly.
just depends, how you, yeah, like you said, again, this is all about embracing things, embracing change. If you know it's coming, get ahead of it. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of it because it's inevitable. Yeah,
The biggest thing,
absolutely.
don't be afraid of it. It is going to be great if you embrace it. Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah. So those were great answers. Now let's switch the gear a little bit. And we're going to go for round two. It's this or that. So I'm going to say some words and you have to tell me which one, right? SEO or CEM?
SEM or SEO?
Sorry,
I mean,
SEO or SEM? Did I say CEM? Oh God.
I feel like SEO just because of the way that AI is going to change everything. It's going to be less
Okay.
about that paid placement.
Ooh, I think I know your answer to the next one. Webinars or in-person events?
In person, I still love webinars though. There's still value, they're just changing.
Yeah. Cold call or cold email?
Oof. Email. No one likes a cold call.
No, yeah, nobody likes them. You're so right. Outlook or Gmail?
I feel like I have to say Outlook. I know that sounds ridiculous, but like I feel like I've had better. Yeah,
I'm here with you on that one.
I'm embarrassed, but Outlook.
Don't be embarrassed. I love Outlook too. It's just one of those things. I'm one of those people too. I put my hand up to it. I've got Gmail here, but I've always loved Outlook more. I guess it's just again just familiarity, right?
I
Something
think
that
it's
you
stay
sort
more
of.
organized in Outlook. I don't know
I feel
why.
like I'm more organized in Outlook too. Yes, thank you. At least somebody understands that too. Like Gmail, it's just even my emails disappear in Gmail, and I'm like, where did that email go? I just saw it.
And the search function used to be really good in Gmail, but I feel like now the search function in both is terrible. So like you're never going to find a good search function. Actually, if you ask Copilot, it can find it more easily in Outlook. So another point for Outlook.
Yes, another point for Outlook. There you go. And the last one is B2B or B2C.
I have to go with B2B. I have so much more fun like with the blend of the creative and the nerdy.
Yes,
Love
yes,
B2C though.
love
It's
it.
so it was a fun era, but
That was super fun. Thank you so much for playing along, Rachel. And your answers were phenomenal. I loved it. It was such an amazing conversation, and getting your input was invaluable. And I had a lot of fun speaking to you as well. Thank you for joining us for our second session and
thanks
giving
for
us the
having me. This
time.
was so fun.
Oh my God, yeah. I just wish we could speak about lots of other things. I mean, I feel like we could just have gone on forever. But yeah,
We'll have to
your
grab a
time.
coffee sometime, virtual coffee to catch up and keep talking about all this.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, we're definitely going to do that because you are somebody that I love speaking to, and everything is just so natural with you. So, I think even our listeners are going to love this. And thank you for taking the time out to join us. That's us wrapping up the podcast today, guys, and it's me signing off. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much. It was so lovely to chat with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. See you guys soon on the next round. And please make sure you guys catch this one because there's lots of great golden nuggets for everyone to know.